Hello YouTubers, this is Cessnaace back again with another video. I'm sure you've noticed that this is a vlog. I used to do quite a number of vlogs. Those of you who have been with me for a long period of time will remember that I did a lot of vlogs. And I also did a lot of shout out videos, but there were a small percentage of people who were watching my videos that were actively vocalizing their dislike of the fact that I was doing so many vlogs, so many shout out videos, and the vlogs I was doing they had no interest in watching, and blah blah blah. Well, as you can tell, I've decided to reinstitute vlogs. Those older vlogs, by the way, aren't on my channel anymore. After all of these complaints and everything, I took down all of the vlogs that I had done. I took down all of the shout out videos I had done. I took down all of the videos that didn't pertain primarily to video games and package videos. I took down everything else, and I must have, well, I deleted well over 200 videos from my channel and from my hard drive, because my hard drive was getting full. I had a relatively small hard drive back then, and it was so full that I couldn't record videos because my computer wasn't able to do any swapping of files. But this computer has two hard drives, a 500 gigabyte hard drive and a 1 terabyte hard drive. So I shouldn't run out of space for quite a long time, even though I've got 6,000 or 7,000 or 8,000 songs in there and all the videos that I've done that I didn't delete. Anyway, I'm sure you've noticed the title of this vlog concerns the paranormal. Prior to a certain date and a particular incident that happened to me, I had zero interest in the paranormal. Yes, in the 70s I did see one movie on UFOs, a documentary from an outfit called Sunn Classics. But this was only because, starting from the age of when I could walk myself to a theater till the time that I got married, I was seeing 2 and sometimes 3 movies every week. And that's how I saw my first Woody Allen movie. We were living in Germany at the time. I took a streetcar to, well, I don't remember the German word, but I took a streetcar to a little small theater, and they were running Sleeper. So I really thought that was a funny movie, and plus which I kind of fell in love with Diane Keaton. But then back then everyone was falling in love with Diane Keaton. Anyway, I saw a lot of movies that you probably would be surprised that I saw. Corvette Summer with Mark Hamill. All of those films from Sunn Classics, like In Search of Historic Jesus, which I have on Laserdisc, and there was one on Noah's Ark, and there was one on the Shroud of Turin, and there was one on the Loch Ness Monster. I saw all these films because I was going to the movies so often. I even went and saw You Light Up My Life with Debbie Boone, and One-on-One with, what was his name, Robbie Benson. I was seeing everything back then. I mean, when it came out, I went and saw it. They didn't have multiplexes back then, but we were living in Renton at the time, which is a suburb of Seattle, and there was a huge UA, United Artists, twin theater there. And well, I go other stories about that, because that particular theater led to some incidents, but I'll save that for another video. The incident that I mentioned earlier, where everything changed, was when I was in my late 20s. Now, I've talked about this before, so I won't go into it with any great detail, but I was in a car accident, not a fender bender. I was waiting for the oncoming traffic to clear so that I could turn into the parking lot of a strip mall or mini mall. I don't know what they call them in other countries, but strip malls are these outdoor malls that are shaped like a strip. Anyway, I was going in there because at the time Jacksonville had a huge comic book shop, and it was located there. And I got to be really good friends with the owners. So when this accident happened, and I instantly couldn't see. I had what felt like a bolt of lightning shoot up my spine. And while I wasn't crying, my eyes had filled up with so much fluid. I could not see. It was just a murky nothing. But I could hear at the window the sound of this kid saying, "Oh, please be all right. Please be all right. Tell me you're okay." You know, that sort of thing. Underage driver with a learner's permit but not a driver's license, out joyriding in his parents' Cadillac. And he plowed into the back of my car. And it took me a while to connect the dots, but after that I started having a lot of problems. I immediately had problems with my neck and my spine, but they took x-rays and they said, well, there's no sign of any arthritis, but it will develop, trust us, and it'll get worse and worse over time. And sure enough, when it first was spotted, sometime later, it was barely noticeable. So where now it is severe, and it goes all the way from the base of the spine into my neck. But I also started having migraines, and then I started having tremors, which I have to take medication for, and a lot of other things. And as I said, I didn't connect the dots right away. But all of these things, health-wise, started happening after that accident. The brain does not like to be shook that way. Anyway, the owners of this comic book shop, well, the guy was a husband and wife who owned it. He came out, and I wouldn't call 911. I don't even remember if 911 existed back then. I didn't call the police or anything because I couldn't tell that there was any damage to my car. Not that I could do a lot of searching. The pain had started to ease off, and I was walking around the car, and I was looking under the car and so forth, and I was getting movement in my neck again. And I wrote down the kid's learner's permit number, his name, address, license plate number off the car. I even wrote down the VIN number off his car, which is redundant because N and VIN stands for number, vehicle identification number. Anyway, flash forward a few years, I started having some paranormal experiences. A lot of different kinds of paranormal experiences. And it finally got to the point, and they were happening so frequently, that I decided to do some research on it. And so I started buying a lot of books on the paranormal. But let me reiterate, this was after I had been having the paranormal experiences, not before. One of the things that happened to me that kind of put me in a state of shock momentarily. I had was not feeling well, and I went to lay down on the bed, and I placed my head down on the pillow with my right ear upward, and I hadn't been in bed long. I had been in bed long enough to where my brain wasn't constantly babbling. How I think is the way I talk. So, it never shuts up, but occasionally it does shut up, my mind. And there's not this constant going on and on and on about nothing. And I had this brief pause where I wasn't thinking about anything. And I heard in my ear a female's voice, a very pleasant sounding female, I might add. And what was she saying? Well, she was saying, Mark, 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 Mark. And as this was going on, I was thinking, am I hearing what I think I'm hearing? Mark, Mark, Mark. And I got up and stopped. So that's really weird. After I did some research on it, well, one author said that it was that's how spirits on the other side or in heaven or however you want to put it communicate with people that they're looking over or after on Earth. They say your name because that is what is easiest to get through. But I did hear it, plain as day. Mark, 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 Mark. And I was not asleep. Trust me, I know when I'm asleep, and I was not asleep. Flash forward a little bit. I was standing in the kitchen right over there. And I looked in the refrigerator to see what there was to eat, and I wasn't seeing anything that appealed to me. And then I thought I heard something outside, so I looked out the kitchen window. Now, I'm going to demonstrate on the front of my shirt because I'm not a contortionist, so I can't demonstrate on the back of my shirt. But as I was standing there looking out of the window to see what the noise was, I felt this. Now, it wasn't the wind or anything like that. For one thing, it was in the house. But it would have been something like that if it was wind. But it was, well, naturally, after I got over the initial shock, I turned. Nothing. So I went back and started looking outside the window again to see what I could see, and turned around. Nobody there. Sometime later, I was at our financial institution, and I was in line. I was the last one in line. When I opened the door to go in, I did feel as if there was someone right behind me. Normally when that happens, I stop and I pull and hold the door for them. It doesn't matter whether they're a woman or a man or whatever. It's just common courtesy. If I sense somebody behind me or hear somebody behind me, I open the door for them. And I hold it until they go through it. Well, I opened the door and held it, and there was nobody there. So I walked in and got in line, and as I said, I was the last one in line. But I still had this strong sense that there was somebody behind me. But I hadn't heard anybody come in. I hadn't seen anybody come in. And as I was pondering all this, on the back of my shirt, I turned. Nothing. A few moments later, now, I had just turned around a few seconds earlier, and I didn't want to look like I was a nut or something. But some of you probably think I am by now. So I was trying to decide, well, how can I look without it appearing as if I'm looking at nothing? So as nonchalantly as I could, I kind of did this to look out, pretending I was looking out the window to look at my car or something. Nobody there. Now, my wife has had a similar experience to that. She recently lost an uncle that she was very close to. Now, my wife, when she was younger, in her early 20s or late teens, I can't remember how old she said she was, she saw a ghost. And it was a ghost, it was later turned out to be, from her description, the ghost of her grandmother's father, or grandfather, or something. She wanted to see him really bad, but she had never seen this ghost, but everybody else in her family had, including my wife, but at different times and at different places and in different countries. She lived in England for a long time. When they were living in England, people were seeing this ghost and describing what the person looked like, and why can't I ever see this ghost? She was the one who wanted to see the ghost and couldn't. Everybody else was seeing this ghost at particular times, various places, but she wasn't. But anyway, she was very close to my wife, this uncle. And so she would go over every week and spend some time with him. He had had a head injury from a motorcycle accident. And also he had gotten into a bar fight, and somebody kicked him with the shoes that had like steel tip or whatever. Kicked him right in the head. And anyway, after those two incidents, he was bipolar, and there weren't a lot of people he could handle. He couldn't handle more than one or two people at a time without, I have to go, I have to leave. But my wife got along very well with him, and so she was the one in their family who always visited with him. She liked him, he liked her, and all that. They would watch movies together. And she took care of all of his chores, like running to the bank and shopping and that sort of thing. So, needless to say, when he died, she was very upset. Now, with me, I knew him too, because even though he didn't take to me initially, because supposedly I reminded him of an ex-wife's husband, and he didn't get along with this person, and so he wasn't comfortable around me. But he got to the point where he was, and I don't know whether this has any bearing on where I'm going or not, but my wife has been going over to the house, his house, trying to decide what to do with everything. And she was going through his videotapes. And as she was looking through the videotapes, I wonder if Mark would be interested in these. As soon as she thought that, so I did that on the back of her shoulder, pushed her hard, like that. And of course, that kind of freaked her out. But she didn't know whether to interpret it to mean it was Jack saying, no, don't give those to Mark, or, hey, I'm here. You know, pay attention. But anyway, she's had those experiences. I've had a lot more experiences. There goes a black cat. I wonder if it could be all the black cats we have. Anyway, another incident that I had, well, I've had several, and I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll save the other experiences that I've had with the paranormal until a subsequent video. I also plan on touching on some near-death experiences that I've had in my life. Plus, as I've mentioned several times, grew up all over the country, and plus lived in France and Germany, and when we lived in those two countries, we traveled extensively throughout Europe and the Scandinavian countries. The Hague has a lot of museums. Anyway, I can talk about that. I can talk about my experiences working in television. I spent 25 years working in television at the local level, but I met a lot of celebrities. And I've met celebrities outside of the field of television. I should say, while I wasn't working in television. That's not right either. I was working in television, but I wasn't at work. Well, that sounds convoluted, but anyway. And I've had so many experiences that were highly embarrassing. I've been trying to decide whether I should cover those or not. Some of them were so embarrassing that I probably won't touch on those, but there are some that are rather humorous that I've kind of gotten over. So I could talk about those. And if there's anything else you would like for me to talk about, such as video games, Disney World. We go to Disney World so often it's not funny. Anything at all, just leave a comment, and I'd be happy to give that some consideration. Now, DJ Donald here with his 2 turntables. Wife picked me up this t-shirt on a trip she made to Disney World, leaving me behind because for health reasons I couldn't go that particular trip. But in any event, until next time, stay awesome.